So this is how it's going to work. Today, when we begin our reading loud, I need your hands folded. I need your body sitting up nice and tall. I need your eyes tracking me. Today we're going to be reading a book called Those Shoes by Marybeth Volz. And in this book, I want you to think about this question. Have you ever wanted something so badly, even though you didn't need it? For me, I think of when I was in 4th grade, and I remember that charm bracelets were really popular. There were these beautiful silver bracelets that clanged, and they had all these different charms, and every year for your birthday or a holiday or Christmas, you could get a different charm. I didn't need it, but I really wanted it, and I begged my mother. I begged her and pleaded and said I would do all kinds of chores. I was going to do anything I could to get that bracelet. So when we're reading this book, I want you to think about that idea of wanting something even though you don't need it. Thumbs up if you've got it. Those shoes. I have dreams about those shoes. Black high tops, 2 white stripes. Grandma, I want them. There's no room for want around here, just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. So it sounds like the little boy here, Jeremy, he really wants these boots. These are just material things. He doesn't need them, but he wants them. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now, not me. I was always the fastest before those shoes came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times. Nate goes to the bathroom 7 times in one day, just so he can walk up and down the hall real slow. Sounds like these shoes here are so important that his friend in class would go out of his way to go to the bathroom 7 times. Next, Alan, Jacoby, and Terrence each get a pair. So I'm noticing here, Jeremy, our main character here, he is obsessed with these shoes. All he can do is think and count about them. And I can also tell that Jeremy must not have a pair of these shoes. He must be an outcast, a loner. Then one day, in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes comes apart. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Alfrey, the guidance counselor, says. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are my size. Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from a cartoon I don't think any kid ever wanted. So it's a little bit funny that he's getting these shoes, but actually it's pretty sad. He's getting these shoes that are really for preschool age children. And he's around your age. That must feel pretty alienating. When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at Mr. Alfrey's shoes and laughs. Ha 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 ha! And so does Terrence and Brandon T. And everybody else. The only kid not laughing is Antonio Parker. At home, Grandma says, "How kind of Mr. Alfrey." I nod and turn my back. I'm not going to cry about any dumb shoes. But I'm writing my spelling words later. Every word looks like the word shoes. And my grip is so tight on my pencil, I think it might burst. really upset about not having a pair of these shoes. And instead of appreciating the shoes that he got from his principal, Mr. Alfrey, all he can do is think about these other shoes that the other scholars in the class have. What do you think about Jeremy's attitude about not having these special shoes? What do you think about Jeremy's attitude about not having these special shoes? When you talk with your partner, I want knees to knees, eyes to eyes. I'm looking for bridges as well. Reds to yellows, purples to oranges, and greens to greens.
I agree with you because you're not even lying. You should be grateful.
1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. 1, 2, eyes on you. So I heard a few different things, but we're all heading around the same path. So I was hearing that from Joselian, feeling like Jeremy's ungrateful. He should want these shoes because he didn't have a pair of his shoes. They were ruined. But I was also hearing some understanding about this. Zephaniah and Alex were saying, well, yeah, he's ungrateful, but it's embarrassing to have preschool shoes. It's embarrassing to be different and to be the outcast. And they were saying that they would understand that feeling as well if they were in his shoes. On Saturday, Grandma says, let's check out those shoes. You're wanting so much. I got a little bit of money set aside. Might be enough. You never know. Wow. So even though he needs winter boots, his grandma is considering to look into these shoes. At the shoe store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits down heavy. Maybe they wrote it down wrong, I say. Grandma shakes her head. Then I remember the thrift shops. What if there's a rich kid who outgrew his or got 2 pairs for Christmas and how to give them away? We ride the bus to the first thrift shop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, pink sandals, high heels, every kind of shoes except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second thrift shop. He is determined to get these shoes. Not a pair of those shoes in sight. Around the corner is the third thrift shop. I see something in the window. So when he's going to the thrift shop, the used store for hand-me-down things, he's so determined. They go to 3 different stores. Black shoes with 2 white stripes, high tops, perfect shape, $2.50. Those shoes. My heart is pounding hard as I take off my shoes and I hike up my baggy socks. How exciting, Grandma says. What size are they? I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling my toes to get my heel in. I don't know, but I think they fit. Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of the shoe. Oh, Jeremy, she says, I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit. I pull the other shoe on and I try to walk around. They're okay, I say, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. But my toes don't fall off. I buy them anyway with my own money, and I squeeze them on and limp to the bus stop. Again, we're seeing Jeremy's determination for something he wants but doesn't need. At home, a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet and doesn't say a word about my 2 big feet shuffling around in my 2 small shoes. Sometimes shoes stretch, I say. Grandma gives me a hug. Oh my goodness, Jeremy cares so much about these shoes. He is allowing himself to suffer to have these shoes. What do you think about Jeremy's behavior? Suffering for the sake of having these shoes. Again, I want reds to yellows, purples to oranges, greens to I heard a lot of great, rich discussion. So I was hearing some different ideas. I was hearing over here that he was suffering and getting cuts and boo-boos and really hurting his feet for the sake of the shoes, but that he was determined and he was going to do it. And I heard that in the back too, determination all the way. And then I was hearing something really interesting from Mustafa and Jaden. They were saying, this is so silly. He's determined, but he's killing his feet. He's seriously hurting them and suffering, and he should just go with his own shoes that he got from the principal. 2 very different topics. 2 different ideas, great ideas. Keep it up. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Alfreys to school instead. One day during math, I glanced at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up and his feet look smaller than mine. Interesting. This is the first time we see someone without those shoes. After school, I head to the park to think. Antonio was there, the only kid who didn't laugh at my Mr. Alfred shoes. We shoot baskets. A loose piece of tape on Antonio's shoes smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think I'm not going to do it. So right now he's having internal thoughts. No, I'm not going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. We race from one end of the playground to the other. I'm not going to do it, I say! Do what? Antonio says, breathing hard. Sounds like he's having a lot of internal conflict with himself. Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. How come you don't wear them, Antonio asks. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. That night, I'm awake for a long time, thinking about Antonio. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. Again, receive the determination. Before I can change my mind, those shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. Wow. After being so focused on obtaining those special shoes, Jeremy actually gave them away. We see him having that internal fight. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. He did it. It seems that his conscience is bothering him as he sees someone who needs the shoes. That was a very, very mature act. At school, Antonio is smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at Mr. Alfrey's shoes. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there's snow. Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots, the teacher announces. Leave your shoes in the hall? It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says, "Thanks." I smile and give him a nudge. Let's race! We're going to begin our discussion about the book. I need everybody to have their legs crisscrossed. I need everybody to be sitting up tall. And I need everybody's hands folded. Sydney, please move down a little bit. Eva, stand up nice and tall. So, in this story, Jeremy insists on having a pair of shoes so that he can fit in with his peers. But he has a change of heart and learns an important lesson. What lesson does Jeremy learn in this story about material things? What lesson does Jeremy learn about the value of material things?
I'm not going to change. What I think
Loud and proud.
What I think is material.
The value of material things.
The value of material things is that when you don't really need something, you could try it on, but when it doesn't work, you can't keep on doing it because it's never gonna work.
So I want to focus on the word value. Focus on the importance. What's he learning about the importance?
It's not. The importance he was learning that even though you want that thing so badly, even though you don't need it and you're so determined to get it,
Loud and proud.
and you're so determined to get it, and you really don't need it, but you go and get it and try it anyway. and you don't and you try and it doesn't work with you, then you have to give it to somebody that really needs it and really wants, and not really wants it but really needs it.
What's the difference?
Loud and proud.
What's the difference between needs and wants?
Needs.
And use evidence from the book.
What's the difference between needs and wants? Is when
All eyes on Sophia.
and part of the book they said, and part of the book and one part of the book he really wanted it, and I know he really wanted it. He's at the beginning of the book and in the middle of it, but then once he realized, and that at the beginning end of the book, he gave it to Antonio because he knew that he wanted, that he needs it, and a need is when not when you want to have it, it's when you have to have it. A need is when a want is when you want. A need is when you don't have to have it, but you want to have it.
Julie. Between needs and wants.
Loud and proud.
Between needs and wants is that when people really want it.
Tell us more about the difference, okay, between needing and wanting, and how you've seen that in this book.
I've seen that in the book because the boy really wanted the shoes, but it didn't fit him. So he gave it away to one of his friends, and his friend really liked it. So his friend wear it, and his friend said thanks. Back in the book it says. Jeremy is ready.
Jeremy is really determined to get a pair of the shoes. Even though his grandmother cannot afford them, he wants them so badly.
In the book, Jeremy feels really passionate about his shoes. And really inside, what do you really think Jeremy's feeling is about the shoes? Julia.
I think
Loud and proud.
I believe that
Loud and proud.
I believe that Jeremy's passion for these shoes, because even though he wants them, he doesn't need them, because he realizes that if he wants them, but when back in the book, he sees his friend without those shoes, and then he decides, even though he wants them, he doesn't need them. And then when he sees his friend without those shoes, then he makes up his mind to give them away, because he really wants them, but he doesn't even need them, because they're just shoes.
Okay, why does Jeremy want the shoes so badly of his mind about the shoes?
I believe that. I think.
Louder, Miles. on. Repeat the question.
The question is that, does Jeremy really,
Why does he want these shoes so badly? Why are these shoes so powerful? What is the power over these shoes?
the power over the shoes?
We can hear you loud and proud.
The power over the shoes is because everybody has them, and he's the only one who doesn't, and he thinks if he has those shoes, he can be faster and better at things.
That's part of it.
What's your evidence? My evidence is from the book is
Loud and proud.
when his friend had the shoes, he said he went to the bathroom 7 times a day because he wanted to look cool in those shoes, and I think that's why he wanted to have the shoes. Okay.
Alex?
You have a question? You have a question for Alex?
Loud and proud.
What I learned in this book is that when you want something, it doesn't mean you need it, and when you need something, it doesn't mean you want it.
You're right. We can agree. Just like my bracelet, when I was a child, I didn't need that bracelet. It was the fact that it jangled and it was shiny and everybody else was getting them for their birthdays. So just like Jeremy, we can all see that in our own lives. Sometimes we want something so badly that we don't need, but we will go to great lengths to get it. And it's the lesson of learning what we truly need and what we truly want, seeing that difference. That makes us mature.
Okay, back in the book it says,
Great job. Kiss your brains. Thank you for leading the discussion. Okay, back to your red spots.